The Philadelphia Eagles have plenty of ammunition heading into the NFL draft, and it shouldn't come as a surprise that trade speculation is now circulating. Since 2003, the Eagles have traded up in the first round a total of 6 times, with the most recent of course landing them a certain quarterback by the name of Carson Wentz. But will they look to do the same again in under 2 weeks time? Let's take a look at first round prospects that the Eagles have met with so far who would fill an immediate need on the team. When doing this, a couple of things immediately stand out. You'll notice the heavy focus on the defensive front lines, but obviously since the Senior Bowl when these meetings began to formally take place, a lot's changed. Vinny Curry and Malik Jackson now fortify what was an area missing some starting level explosiveness, and as times change, so do the Eagles' draft needs. But with that said, you would think that logically, as the rosters slowly and gradually become filled and all of those roster holes have been patched, that the team would have met with a first round linebacker. Whether that's Devin White, whether that's Devin Bush, neither of them appear on this list, and in fact, there are no round 1 linebackers, which comes as a massive shock. However, a pair of safeties who could be available at 25, a stray tight end, and a plentiful focus on the trenches. So if the Eagles are going to move up in round 1, I highly doubt it's going to be for a player they've not met with. But before we dive deeper into which of these players could be available, what is important to note is that the Eagles met with a lot of players. A lot, as does every team in the NFL, and in 2016 they drafted just 2 players of the 20 they met with. They drafted 2 of 25 in 2017, 3 if you include the signing of Corey Clement, and just 1 draftee in 22 meetings last season, that man being Avonte Maddox. So this could be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but there's a good chance that one of these players ends up playing in midnight green. The question is, can the Eagles get him at 25? Using the draft chart that NFL general managers use to place a rough value on individual picks, although it's becoming increasingly less common, we can see that to get inside the top 10, the Eagles would roughly need to give up approximately 1,370 points worth of value. Their first 3 picks, so their first round and both second rounders together, would combine for 1,410, but obviously Howie Roseman has a way of manipulating trades and finding value where others don't, and that includes moving players for potential assets. If the Eagles were to move into the top 10, they would be looking at a player like Ed Oliver here, but he's more than likely going to fall a little bit lower than that, which tells me a trade up into this sort of region would see them want to bring in an edge rusher like Montez Sweat or Rashan Gary. I feel like bringing in a defensive end in round 1 though causes too much complication. However, the Eagles just extended Brandon Graham, and Vinny Curry just re-signed with the team after a stint in Tampa Bay, but surely bringing in another first round pick is going to cause too much congestion in that rotation and would only raise further question marks about what we can expect out of Derek Barnett in year number 3. If the Eagles do move into this range, I'm expecting it to be for Andre Dillard, a tackle whom they've surprisingly not met with. Dillard isn't a day 1 ready prospect, although he could be the perfect developmental heir to Jason Peters' throne. But that, to me, defies trading up. If you're going to move into a top 10 pick, you're going to want instant impact, a guy that's going to come in and start right away, and to me, Andre Dillard is just not that guy yet. Not only that, but something to note is that teams within this region are likely rebuilding, and it could take a lot more to entice a team who are locked in on a guy out of that, because they won't want to miss out on a potentially franchise-changing talent. So unless the Eagles are ready to maybe give up a little more leverage than is understandably needed, then this could be just a little bit too high for Howie Roseman to reach. In the mid-teens, however, things begin to heat up. Cody Ford and Ed Oliver could be the names up for grabs here, and if either of them fall, expect the Eagles to sprint to the phones to try and drum up some business. The Eagles, of course, have previously traded with the Minnesota Vikings, and in my most recent mock draft posted on this channel and PhillySportsNetwork.com, I had them moving up to select Christian Wilkins, and that could certainly be the play here. I think it's solidifying the defensive tackle depth, given how much they missed Beau Allen and Destiny Viau in 2018, let alone the absence of starter Timmy Jernigan that forced Fletcher Cox to put the entire interior pass rush on his shoulders is absolutely vital, and a first round talent behind Cox and Jackson could be absolutely lethal, given offensive lines fits all game long, because they simply wouldn't get a break. Outside of that though is the sweet spot for Ed Oliver, Cody Ford, and maybe, just maybe, even Brian Burns. There are a lot of strong edge rushers in this class, and if it's the offensive lineman that begins to topple first, with names like Dillard and Taylor being snapped up, then Roseman will be licking his lips, knowing that any of the aforementioned are still available in the teens of the first round. It would take the Eagles maybe a first round and one of their second round picks to sneak into this range, or potentially a first, a fourth and a player. It's much more feasible given how much the Eagles value those day 2 picks. And if we look at the pattern of players they've met with to which ones are available in that first round, you can certainly make the argument. In fact, if we look back at that history to 2003, the Eagles have actually traded into the teens 5 of 6 times. The only time the Eagles did not trade into the teens or traded beyond that was to get Carson Wentz, and that was obviously from when they traded up into the teens to begin with that pick from Miami. So the possibility of the Eagles trading into the heart of the first round is very plausible. If it's going to happen, expect it to be between picks 13 and 18, because not only are there going to be a plethora of trench talent that the team have met with, but it's also the sweet spot for where the Eagles can really maximize that value. And finally, what if the Eagles just want to bump up a few spots in the draft? They're already picking at pick 25, but what if they want to stay within the top 20? Well, again, it's a possibility. In this window, the Eagles are likely trying to jump one team for one player. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of the Oakland Raiders to land Josh Jacobs to partner with Jordan Howard. Maybe they want to snatch Jonah Williams from the clutches of the Houston Texans, or perhaps, just maybe, they want to poach Devin Bush away from Baltimore. This is simply a leap of a few places. It doesn't take that much, and it's absolutely possible if the Eagles are besotted with a certain player, but I feel like this is less likely than a more significant move forward. Having said that, the Eagles did move up 2 spots back in 2009 to select Jeremy Maclin. They gave up centre Alex Mack and a 6th round pick, and if we look at the current assets and the current players on the roster, the Birds certainly have an abundance of players and picks who would fit the mould of that trade and give Roseman enough ammunition to pull the trigger and get them just slightly higher into that first round to secure the talent they want. It may even be that one of the 2 safeties here, whether that's Nasir Adderley or whether it's of course CGJ, gets taken first. Maybe it's Byron Murphy that sparks it all, the young cornerback. We don't know. But if something happens where a trend starts or a domino begins to fall and the Eagles think they are in danger of losing a player they'd pick at 25, they would not be afraid to sacrifice a mid-round pick, to sacrifice a 6th rounder, to leap up and snatch that player away from the other team that's interested. Hell, they even did it with Dallas Goedert. Look at the way they maneuvered back into the 2nd round and poached Dallas Goedert away from the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. It was one of the most iconic moments of last year's NFL draft. But the question is, are the Eagles really looking to trade up from pick 25? Who are the names they're looking to trade up to, and what would it take to give up? It's not as easy as just saying, well, the Eagles could give up this player and this pick to get to pick 8 and secure that player, because you don't know what's going to happen on draft night. This is all speculation, and it can all change in a heartbeat with a shock first overall pick, or if the Cardinals maybe don't go for Kyler Murray, maybe they go with an edge rusher instead. You just don't know how this draft is going to play out, and that is the beauty of it. That's why it's so fun to speculate. But I do think the Eagles are less likely to stay at 25 than they are to trade up or down. Now, in the next few days, we're going to be looking at potential options at trading back into the 2nd round, and of course options at staying put as well. But I hope this video has added some context into some of the players that you may not have thought were possible before are suddenly on the Eagles' radar, or put some of those draft meetings into perspective. So if you want to see who the Eagles could take at pick 25, I need you to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and let me know in the comments what you want the Eagles to do. Do you want to see them trade up? And if so, who's it for? Is it going to be Ed Oliver out of Houston, the man that is almost like Marmite that has torn draft Twitter in half? Or will it be for an offensive lineman, potentially even a wide receiver? I need you to sound off in the comments and let me know. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me at LiamJenkins21 or at PhiladelphiaSN. I will see you next time for another video where we break down the upcoming NFL draft. Stay tuned to Philly Sports Network for the very latest content for all of your Philly sports teams, whether it's here on the YouTube channel or our website, phillysportsnetwork.com.